There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. A little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, you gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and podcast. How are you? Boa semana to you. How are you doing? How was your weekend? For me, I've got a lovely image which sums up the conviviality and joy of the weekend. On Friday afternoon and Saturday, we were filming over at Hugh Forestier Walker, and his wonderful Quinta dos Três Rios, Minola.co.uk. I think you know that by now. And the wonderful Visio Quinta, where he grows that rosé, or he grows the grapes to make that rosé. Sent me away with a bottle of port as well. We were filming there with the great British film director that you can see on the right there, Terence Austin. Garvo was there, Ben as well. The amazing Austin brothers, fantastic. Well, 24 hours pretty much, and a little bit of filming with a car. I don't think I can even tell you what the name of the car is because we're embargoed until the car manufacturer or no, I can't even say the dealership because that will give away what it might be. They want to see the video before we're allowed to tell anyone we made it or share it with anybody else. But it was a very fine motor car and a little bit of filming of that at Quinta de Lamos. And I didn't know about this, but Portugal makes some of the finest cotton, what would it be? Textiles, Egyptian cotton, the finest bed sheets and other cotton things anywhere in the world. James, help me out here. Anywhere in the world, and legendary. I mean, just so many of these well-kept secrets in Portugal, these wonderful things that are made here that Portugal is so modest about. So lovely weekend or lovely day, really, overnighter, fantastic, convivial, hospitable, superb times, happy times up there at Quinta dos Três Rios, which of course is on the market. And we were up there making a real estate video, which I'll be delighted to share with you when that's made as well. Come on, get on with it, British director Terence Austin. So great to see you, lads. Great to see you, Hugh and Jane. Thank you so much. And meet lots of lovely workawayers. There were people there from Australia, New Zealand, Venezuela, Brazil. It's quite incredible. And so lovely to be in a beautifully appointed home with so many people having such a lovely time here in Portugal, and to meet the great Paul Rees as well. Paul showed up on Saturday afternoon as well. So great to see you, Paul. Lovely to meet you in real life. Right, what's going on this morning? Oh yeah, of course, you'll have seen from the opening titles there. I'm sorry for people who watch on a big screen in high definition. I've just realized I didn't trim my nasal hair, which you can see very well on a big screen. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to inflict that upon you. Other delights you'll have seen in the opening video, as well as the low definition of some of the clips. I watch it on my phone and on my tiny computer screen at home. I really apologize to anyone who watches it in HD. I mean, if you've got one of those really good tellies, it must be quite I don't know, scary, really. But anyway, our point of interest this week, Porto Alegre. Didn't know about that until Manuel Ferreira turned up last week and recommended it to us, and I'm so glad he did. The Azorian pineapple is our treat of the week. That's a new one on me. Expensive, but very delicious. Look, it's upside down in that picture. I'm not trying to say anything significant there. And our home, you saw clips of the home. That's one of Antonio Barbosa's absolutely beautiful home with the most incredible views you're gonna see in Portugal. And our car of the week, the Peugeot 3008. More about all of those as the week unfolds because we're keeping him waiting. Let's play his music and bring him on.
Bon dia.
Hold on a minute. No cowboy hat that isn't a cowboy hat in this picture.
No, I'm
Beautiful.
live from Amarant.
Amarant. And you have a beautiful dappled light through your window there. That's not a green screen. That's the real deal, isn't it?
No, that's the real deal. And you know, when you were showing the real estate in the openings, I said that's the house I'm in. I'm spending a couple of days with the Nibblies up here in Amarant.
Are you? Please give our fondest and best regards to the Nibblies. Is that where they live?
Yes. So
Oh,
I'm in the dining area of their main room, and it's beautiful. I mean, the amount of work that's gone into this place is like out of one's imagination.
Really?
And they've done an incredibly beautiful job of it. It's like if someone wanted to give me this house, I'd live here.
You'd just take it, would you?
Yeah.
Bit of a wrench to up sticks and come from Ericeira, but you put
yeah. But it's been a really great visit, and it's a beautiful home. Of course, the weather's been rather warm.
Yes.
It was about 32 yesterday, full sun.
Wow. Frank is a great bloke, of course, and no doubt his Mrs. Nibley is as well. So I'm sure you've had a fabulous time there.
Her name is Heidi. So
Heidi Nibley. What a great name. Do you have to be a really great guy if you're called Frank? I'm guessing you do. I know I've known of and met a few in my time. And
well,
Frank,
you know, if he's just a straightforward, honest kind of guy, then he would be Frank.
So true. Frank by name, Frank by nature. Excellent. So, and they've allowed you to take over their dining room then for the breakfast show.
Yes. I say, well, look around and see what you think will work. Great. Frank has been, you know, he said, I'll get you an extension cord and we'll get you on this, and you can turn these lights here. And so he's been incredibly helpful. And I go, you know, you think we're making an A-list Hollywood movie or something, but
not far off. It's only a matter of time, James.
Yeah. Which reminds me, I was going to say, don't worry about that nasal hair, because if you recorded that in 1K, it doesn't matter what. If someone has 4K, they're still going to get a fuzzy picture.
Oh, okay. Well, I noticed it. I was looking at it on a bigger screen. I thought that's really unkind to inflict upon.
It's a difference. You know, from this sort of standard YouTube size square, or even smaller on a phone, to a full screen. It's like, wow.
Well, if it was in 70mm, as it used to be, and it was shown in the cinema, it would have people screaming, running from the movie theater.
Yes.
I think as well. I'm just finding out here, Amarant population in 2011 was just over 56,000 people, just over 300,000. Sorry, no, in an area of, yes, a full point is a comma here, isn't it? Of course, 300,000 square kilometers. The city itself has a population of 11,000. So not a huge place, but a very pretty one, right? And it's been part of the UNESCO Creative Cities Network under the category of, it's a city of music. That's interesting. And Amarant's origin dates to the primitive peoples that, you might meet some of them, primitive peoples that hunted and gathered in the Serra de Alboreira sometime during the Stone Age and extended during the Bronze Age and later the Romanization of the Iberian Peninsula. So what's stuck in your mind so far about?
And more importantly, and I don't know, it's kind of too bad you said stuck in my mind. It didn't, but I was going to say, more importantly, this is the birthplace of the symbol that represented the saint of I was going to say reproduction.
Didn't stick in your mind, did it?
However we say that, you know, like bounty and
fecundity, fertility,
babies, all that stuff. So apparently this was the birthplace of all the phallic symbols that represent that saint.
No, that's Caldas de Reina, I think you'll find.
Well, that's a particular artist, I think. But
yes,
in terms of the saint that kind of inspired the artist, it was the saint was here, as I'm told, in Amarant.
So, do people go to Amarant then to take advantage of the fertile vibes?
Yeah, I think I have heard that. Well, at least when that priest or whatever his title was here, the people would come and see him and want blessings for fertility and so on and so forth. So, you know.
So where do they splash the holy water for that instance?
That gets a little too into the details of the religion that I don't know. So,
ooh, that's refreshing.
Yes. Wow, I never expected that.
Let's have 2 or 3
And
children.
look at that reaction.
Right. Well, thank you for that. It's a little.
Yeah, you can have those images first thing on a Monday morning. Enjoy.
Right. Oh, okay. So,
Virgin.
has it been a
Very nice.
fertile backdrop for musings as well? Then,
Say again, I missed it.
how are you enjoying a fertile backdrop for mindful musings?
Yes, it's as I mentioned on Thursday when I said I was going to be there on Friday. This is one of those times when you can actually ask me, "How's your weekend?" And I had one. It's been really great.
And I haven't even asked you, have I?
Come on, Carl.
It
Ask
takes
me.
3 years to ask you if you've had a good weekend. You go, what's that? And now I don't ask you, you've had a weekend.
I've had a weekend because I actually did some fun stuff that happened to be on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Well,
I could have done it on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It would have been a weekend, but
there's something about weekends, though, isn't there? Even if you're retired, it's just the way industrial society works, I suppose.
Yes. Anyway, yes, it's been great. I came up. I met Nunu in Venda do Pinheiro, and then we drove together up to Vila Nova de Gaia, where there was an event that he wanted to attend and invited me to attend with him.
Cool.
And I said, well, okay, I'm going to be in Conch and Hannyland, and the Nibblies are not too far away from there. So I said, I'm going to make a weekend of it, see if I can get in as many as possible. And the monthly Porto meetup is this afternoon. And so I invited the Nibblies, who said, yes, we'd love to do that. So in terms of my transportation, just all worked out because Nuno had to drive through Amarante to get to Lamego, where he needed to be yesterday.
Yeah.
And he's going to also be at the meetup. So it's like.
So how's that contrast, James? Of you are on the Silver Coast, aren't you? I think
technically, if you're going to go there, I'm too far south. But
I think it feels southern, doesn't it? Well, yes.
Yeah, there's a definite difference between the south and north. And this is the first time I've been this far north and this far east. Right. So noticing the differences,
tell us about that. What are the differences?
Well, one of the things I noticed almost immediately when Frank walked me through the city center of Amarante was you really feel the age of it. And there's a lot of stone and less calçadas. I mean, the sidewalks are probably have, 3,000-year-old stones. That's what make up the sidewalks. A lot of stone buildings. It's not, I told Frank, he stood at one place and said, this is the place we had our whoa moment of Amarante, where I had shared that with Ericeira. And I stepping into it, I was going to say something about that when he said that. So it's like, finish what you're saying, because I have a comment that was already going to be made about that. And what I said to him is, and I was very particular, based on my experience of Portugal, which has been basically the Lisboa area. I've done traveling on the train and gone to Espinho and gone to Vila Nova de Gaia. But in terms of non-metropolitan Portugal, my experience, especially in the architecture, is the very standard, usually white, sometimes other colors, right-angled blocks of concrete poured and buildings. I mean, that with the terracotta roofs. That's been my experience of Portugal. So in my limited experience, this is Portugal. And then I stepped into that space with them because I was looking around and I said, this is not Portugal. And I've said that to a few people from the area. That's right. From people from the area said, no, this is Portugal. This is ancient. This is where it started. Like,
fair point. Yeah.
I'm saying, to me, I haven't had this experience of Portugal, so it's unfamiliar. And it doesn't, just in terms of what you're looking at, it doesn't feel like Portugal. I mean, the culture and the people and all that are always there. They're the foundation of the feeling of Portugal. But that moment, it was like, man, these
Before, yes,
buildings
even
have
before
angled
Roman
edges.
concrete homes. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and there's stone, and there's Victorian style architecture, and there are buildings that don't end in 90-degree angles, and they're cut off to fit a certain rock or whatever it is to make
Marvelous.
the building fit. And the streets are very narrow, so that even at noon, you probably only get 20 minutes of direct sun as it passes from one side of the buildings to the other. And you can
Ah,
see the sensibility of the design. Anyway, it's, and the nature, which I really
mm,
enjoy, is much less disturbed nature, much
okay.
less human intrusion on it. So
Wilder.
you get full grown old trees. You get lots of flora on the floor bed of where the trees are. There's just I guess, a wilder sense that is very different than my experience farther south, where even inland, I mean, I have mostly a coastal experience, but even inland is mostly agriculture. And when I say agriculture, I'm talking about eucalyptus. It's a farm, a eucalyptus farm. It's not a forest. They do the same thing with pine. So you get pine farms,
Mm.
and you get food farms, and you get animal farms. And most of the land is used for those things. So you're not getting 400,000-year-old trees. They've been cut down and used or never grew or whatever. But what I find as I move north, you see more and more. You see more and more of these trees that have just been there for however long they've been, and nobody's cut them down or needed to clear it for farmland or whatever. And I see that much more in the north, which that didn't surprise me, because what little I knew about it, I said, okay, that's one of the reasons why I want to explore the north, is to see and experience that. And it's been what I anticipated. So it's beautiful and lovely. All that being said, I love being by the sea, and I don't care for the more extreme changes in temperature. I really like that the humidity is like down to 2%. And I was like, whoa, because in Ericeira, I've never seen it below 50. And that's like a dry day in Ericeira. So,
Oh, and because you're inland and you've got some
yeah,
rain.
yeah. And whatever is working on it, I'm told it gets much more humid in the wintertime. So, but I'm not here at that point. I'm here one of the warmest and sunniest times of the year. So,
Fantastic. Well, let's put it on the map. Look, this is where you are. It really is way up north.
yes.
And there are a few comments coming in. Yep, says no. Good morning to you. The living legend is here. Portugal
Hola,
has.
Nuno. I'll see you this afternoon.
Bon dia, amigo. You've experienced the ancient part of the country there. It's way up there, isn't it? That's great.
Yeah,
Just put it on the map. I didn't think it was that far north. And Bob also chipping in. Morning, Bob and Viv. James, Pontalima will celebrate 900 years.
yes.
2025. This is Sparta. Oh no, this is Portugal for us. So as Bob
Yes.
probably says, with his tunic and red cape on, as he stands guarding the Pontalima Bridge from the onslaught of the Romans. Very good. Yep. See you for sure. Is everyone else invited to this? Where are you off to, guys, this afternoon? This is an open meeting.
The Porto expat meetup. I think it's a monthly thing that Connie and Hank sponsor. I think they sponsor it anyway.
Right. Nice. Okay. And that's where you get to meet some of those other characters. The fella, I forget his name now, who's got a great blog. Been here a while, from Las Vegas. I forget his name now, but yeah, it's a convivial bunch. Later on, no, I think it's October. Expats Portugal have got one up there as well, haven't they? There's a roadshow, Expats Portugal roadshow, heading up that way as well. We'll get another chance to see Nuno, I think, as well.
Yeah, Connie and Hank have been very successful in organizing and sponsoring that. They're anticipating more than 50 people showing up. So
great.
Like, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
and Nuno and I had a chance to sit with them for drinks after he and I went to the event. We met Hank and Connie in Villanova de Gaia, and so we had a chance to chat there. So it's just been great. I've been able to reconnect with friends I haven't seen for a while, and spend time with a friend in Nuno that is actually from closer to where I live. So it's been brilliant.
Wonderful. Okay, some messages coming in this morning from Pete and others. Deagle mentioning it. We've got Michael and Karen, of course, in Miranda de Corvo, where they were where they experienced their first wildfire, I think, here in Portugal. Bom dia, Nuno, Squire. Yeah, Squire's here as well with a tapa da manhã. That's a great greeting, isn't it? And we have, we do have some concerns about fire currently because of the wind. I think it's a lot to do with the wind and the conditions that are conducive to wildfires. Antonio, Jackie, James, and all. Jackie's here as well, back in UK.
Hola, Pete.
Been a hard night here with a big fire. Our friends have been fighting, still raging on the hillside, but everyone is safe. Good to hear that.
Yeah, there's fires around here too. I mean, it's kind of comes.
Same way, yeah. When I was heading over to Viseu, there was the same. You could see smoke on arrival in the distance. The Serra da Estrela has been hit as well. Those red
dots on that map, right about where Amarante was showing up when you showed the other map.
Yeah, right. We can see Amarante there, and there's a lot of fires raging at the moment. So the Bombeiros are over those, and that if you need to know to stay safe, fogos.pt. which I'll put into the chat for you as well, just to so you can keep an eye on what's going on. And remember to support your local Bombeiros if ever possible. They take, water, bottles of water, snacks. I think, they'll tell you locally what they need if you pop into the Bombeiros show. They're volunteers, many of them. So they'll tell you what they need and you can sort them out and help them out whilst they're looking so hard at the moment. Back to Amarante, where James is live today, this morning with the Nibblies, at home with the Nibblies.
Yes.
Amarante looks beautiful. It certainly is, isn't it? And people say that.
And I don't know if I turn this more to the window if it will clear up, and no, it doesn't darken up. It's just a beautiful view out the dining area, and
we're getting a sense of the dappled light and the you've evoked this ancientness, if it is a word even, of Amarante. And yes, so that's the geographical, the topological, the physical, the material. What about the spiritual? Has it struck you on a mindful and spiritual level at all?
It's funny. I haven't really looked at that until you asked the question, and there's a very subtle sense of origin. I can't think of a better word. There's a sense of like beginning. There's a sense of like, this is ancient, when you step into ruins, you kind of get that energy of, oh man, this thing is, and I'm not talking about quintas that have been untended. I mean, ancient ruins. You can pick up this energy of just the age of what exists. And it is subtly, it's not a massive smack you in the face kind of difference. There's a very subtle difference than my experience of Ericeira and Lisboa. And I think part of that in Lisboa is that the earthquake literally shook things up and they had to redesign and rebuild. So a lot of it is much newer than it was prior to the earthquake. And I think that may have shifted some of that ancient energy kind of thing. But also it's a big city and that's a different energy. And Amarante is a very small town and it's almost exclusively Portuguese. The immigrant population here apparently is very, very small. So if you're a person who wants to integrate into Portugal culture and meet Portuguese people, it's a great place for learning Portuguese because very few of the people here speak it because they don't need to, because there are very few English-speaking people here. And that's consistent with what Frank and Heidi wanted. They didn't want to be in the center of an immigrant, city or whatever. They wanted to have the full Portuguese experience and be, as I say, I want to be as Portuguese as I can be.
Yes.
Recognizing I'm from the United States. I don't speak the language as well as I'm going to eventually, but I want to incorporate as much of being Portuguese as I can. And Frank and Heidi are of the same mind. So that's what they're doing. Yeah.
I've had a little idea along those lines. We have the Portugal Club, of course, which is our exclusive GMP VIP area. And I'd like to make an offer this week. I want more Portuguese people to join us there. So I would love to be able to give you the opportunity, if you're a member and you're a foreigner, immigrant expat, and you want to gift a membership to a Portuguese friend who will come and join us and be in that community, because Antonio's amazing over there. Nuno's there as well. Philomena's there. We've got great Portuguese friends in that community who step in and say, you don't say it like that, you say it like this, or and others
just chuckle and go, oh,
yeah, Vitor's there as well. Wouldn't it be amazing if we had even more Portuguese people over there who obviously
well, you just named all my Portuguese friends, so
if you want to give a gift, if you're a member already yourself and you want to gift a membership to a Portuguese friend, I can fix that up. Just give me their email address. Make sure they're happy with that, of course. But you know, with a straightforward Portuguese, they'll soon tell us about it if they're not.
Or you can do it like some of the restaurants do, where you just pay for a meal and they put it on the board, and if someone needs it, they take it off and use it. So it could be like that. And just say, this is for that purpose. Anyone who wants to do it that's Portuguese, you can apply this to.
Well, you Portuguese people, you get a free pass into the Portugal Club,
because we want to see more of you join us.
Yeah, and it's not a free lunch. It's not a free lunch. Yeah, we'd like to, you know, a little bit of input. And you know, if you're anything like Antonio, it will be amazing, because Antonio's sayings, his crime report, Portuguese sayings, you know, that come in pretty much every day. It's such a nourishing. And well, it's such a beautiful show of Portuguese generosity really over there. So if you want to do that, let me know. Give me the email address of a Portuguese friend who wants to join us over there, and we'll take care of that. So we'll have Vitor, talking of Portuguese friends, we'll have Vitor Costa joining us in just a moment. He's recently become a business broker, and we'll be talking about how to find more opportunities, business opportunities here in Portugal, because we're well aware of beautiful real estate opportunities. Some people come over on a golden visa or a D2 visa. Some people are coming to work here. And some people, I think, after the peak Pastel Donato, might be looking to get involved in a little bit of a business or something like that. So Vitor Costa, Senor Costa, will be telling us more about that later on. Until then, a couple of minutes to go whilst I just have you and me are alone here. James, anything else you want to tell us about?
We're not exactly. Heidi actually stepped into the room. I invited her to pop her head in and say hi. So
hi, Heidi.
Come on over, Heidi.
Oh, say wonderful.
Hi. There she is.
Hola, bom dia. Tudo bem? How are you, Heidi? Good to see you.
How are you?
Lovely to meet you. Muito prazer.
You as well. Thank you.
So now we know both the Nibblies.
Yes, I've met Frank in real life. I was going to see him here on the Silver Coast. Lovely to meet you as well. Yes, you've got him in your... He's in your dining room doing a breakfast show. I mean, did he tell you about that before he came over?
He did not, but we did feed him breakfast before.
Surprise, by the way.
Lovely to meet you. And you. Lovely to meet you. Ciao, ciao. Love to Frank. Go on, James. You were going to add something. I think.
Frank's a bit more bashful. I invited him too, but he said, so.
Well, we'll get to meet him.
Come meet him in person. He's a really
all right, excellent. So let's say a few hellos. We'll come back to the God's God tip of the day later in the show. Coach Turner, bem-vindo a uma nova semana. Had a wonderful weekend at the Classics at the Castle event, which I helped with, including dinner, chatting to the designer of the Porsche 993. Wow! Talking to somebody who's actually designed a car, an inspiring guy by the name of Tony Hatter. I bet he's been called the Mad Hatter from time to time. He's lived through the transition of designing on paper to full 3D computer-aided design. I bet some of his old designs on paper are beautiful, framed and admired from back in the day. So as a deep understanding of the process, I was blessed. You certainly were. Fantastic. And Deagle, great news from Deagle as well. Sunny 10-degree Belfast with a bumper week as high as 22, but some late summer action going on over there. And on Friday the 13th, daughter Megan had her third baby girl, Phoebe. Fantastic. Look at that. Friday the 13th for her birthday. You can always come over here to Montalegre and celebrate. 3 girls, mummy and baby home from hospital, doing great. Lovely to hear that. Congratulations, Grandad. And Jackie, bon dia, Gumpers, back in UK, but planning my next visit soon. She wants to be back here already.
Not just soon.
Yes, like a soon. And
really soon
is a little bit of heaven on earth. It sounds like Jackie might have had a good time, right? And,
well, Jackie, is more than a little bit.
Yes.
It's a huge bit to me anyway. That's my experience.
There's our official blessing this morning from Antonio F. Nuno as well.
Hello, gentlemen.
Aviva, Michael and Karen, you stay safe. Bob is here as well. Bob Wenger to. We did have a great weekend, and yeah, you stay safe over there in Miranda de Corvo. And until tomorrow night, Portugal is on high alert, says Antonio. Orange and red alerts for forest fires. 60-year-old firefighters. I didn't know that. It's really sorry to hear that during a break in firefighter shit. That's awful. Yes, who else? Leela is here with a bon dia as well. And I wanted to visit Miranda de Corvo, said Jackie. Last week, but I spent so much time walking the amazing mountains in Oliveira do Hospital, but I didn't get there. Lovely part of the world. Love Oliveira do Hospital. That's where I first.
You spent a year traveling the country and still not see it all. So
that's right, absolutely, and
good reason to come back
forever. Yeah, you can keep going. So, are you going to say a quick hello to Vitor when he joins us on the screen here?
Sure, I'll give a wave, and then because I'm still on my weekend.
Okay, yes, of course. Look at you. You're making up for lost weekend time. Okay. Nice big round of applause. Vitor Costa, everybody. Look at him. Please be upstanding. How are you, Vitor?
Hola, Vitor. And I want to give a quick shout out. I'm working with Vitor on relocating to Espinho, and he's being amazing in helping me do that. So,
okay. He's got a lovely shiny webcam now as well.
Yes. Oh, we can see you. We got a little spit fuzz on.
Good morning.
Is that Vitor Costa? Okay. Hi, Vitor.
There's something weird with the colors, but I can be seen anyway.
You're looking good.
You're a beautiful shade of pink today.
And a nice geometric T-shirt as well there. A Mondrian almost. Mondrian. How's it going in your part?
I'm gonna sign off, guys.
All right, mate. You take care. Have a wonderful time.
See you next week.
Okay, ciao. See ya. There he goes.
Yes,
right.
And indeed, James did give me his vote of confidence, so I'm now representing him to find him a rental in Spain.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well, tell us more about that service then, because you are here. Oh, he's gone. We can take that off the screen. You, of course, are going to be talking to us this morning about business opportunities and how to find them in Portugal, but residential opportunities and the sort of work you're doing for James. How does that work with you?
Yeah. So just to recap a little bit of everything I do for those who may not be super into it. So started as a real estate agent, as you know. Then we founded Portugal Door along with Maria. And Portugal Door is based on the relocation side of things. It may or may not involve real estate. And one thing with building up on is that I always wanted to be a person's ally in Portugal.
Yes.
To get done what they need to get done, not just find them a rental or a home to buy or whatever for a commission and then, do your own thing. So one thing that we've always been building up on is providing more and more ways of serving people and being able to meet different kinds of needs and even budgets, right? So to give you an idea, right now, the best value proposition we have is we help find the rental, home finding, negotiation, reviewing the contracts. Depending on the location, we can even go grocery shopping, fill up the fridge, make your bed, clean your house, so that you don't need a hotel or an Airbnb when you arrive. And all of this, there are a few asterisks, but assuming a normal property and, within a certain proximity, 2,214 euros, tax included, we can do all that, okay?
Wonderful.
But sometimes some people, that may be a bit pushy for their budget and their situation. So we have other options that, hey, okay, maybe we won't home find as much, but we can do the contract negotiation or just make sure everything is okay and that you're protected for a lower amount, but leave out all of the extras, right?
Yes.
Now, when it comes to business, for example, that's another thing that, since I read this book right here, I knew I wanted to deal with businesses. And now, at last, I have an actual really good training and certification.
And that's Rich Dad Poor Dad. You're pointing at Kiyosaki there, were you, Robert Kiyosaki?
Rich Dad Poor Dad, yeah.
Yes, we
So-
also he inspired us to maybe write a Mindful Dad, Not Mindful Dad book. But anyway, that's another story entirely that we'll talk about with James maybe next week. But yeah, sorry, carry on. So that inspired you to get more into beyond real estate, because I know Kiyosaki is pretty interested in real estate, right, and has some interesting things to say about that. But it's not just real estate and homes, is it? It's business as well.
Yes, yes, yes. But the really cool thing also about this training is that it allowed me, as a real estate agent and as a Portuguese ally for relocation, to at least double my level of professionalism and my way
Yes.
of looking at things, right?
Your offer.
Because one thing I noticed that, I already had kind of a feeling, but I now know this factually, is that pretty much no real estate agent in Portugal, and I'm including myself before I had this training, has any idea how to sell a business, right? So when we were talking last night and you were asking, hey, are there places where you can find businesses online? I mean, yes, you can find businesses like on Imo Virtual and the usual real estate websites also. But the problem there is that people don't know how to sell businesses. They don't know how to evaluate a business. They don't know how to promote a business. I found a mini preço for sale there for like 1 million, right? The problem with this is that when they make a listing, be it the real estate agent or the person trying to sell their own business, first of all, and this is probably the worst, it's like the business is all completely exposed. You know what the business is, the location, like the employees, the clients, everybody involved.
Yes.
Getting at so much information at the corporate and business level, and there is corporate espionage, right?
Yeah, right.
And usually if you give them a call, they'll send you all of the documentation, their financial details, their client lists or whatever that they may not even realize are on those documents. And then on the description, it's all, let's say, trash that it doesn't matter to an investor, right?
Yes. Yeah.
If I want to buy a hotel, for example, I don't care that it has 257 chairs, 40 tables, 5 fridges.
Yes. The
I want
carpets
to know the
included.
numbers, right?
Yes.
What's
Yeah.
the gross volume of sales? What's the return on investment? What's the cash flow? The EBITDA, all of these things. But because they already tell you what the hotel is, or what the restaurant is, or what the factory is, or whatever, because they already tell you that, they can share you the numbers because now it's sensitive information. So this is the other way around. The way you do it is you list the company anonymously. Okay, there's a hotel for sale in the Minho region in the north.
Yes, with a turnover, perhaps a little bit of a give an idea of the scale of it, maybe at that point.
Yeah, and then you have the financials. This is the yearly volume of sales. Then you have graphs that show the growth of the hotel during the last 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
And then when someone wants to buy the property, then they need to sign an NDA. Because now they'll be getting sensitive information. Now they'll be getting names, and they'll be getting documents, and they'll be getting financials, right? So they need to have like a legally binding agreement there. Likewise, on the other way around, if someone wants to buy a company, for example, and Golden Visa is something that's always been on people's minds. It's not as tricky as it seems because, for example, you can buy a much cheaper business and still get the Golden Visa. How does that work? I don't know if I'm giving some spoilers here or super secret.
Carry on, dear boy.
Right? But let's say you buy a restaurant for 100,000, right? Obviously, that doesn't qualify for the Golden Visa. But if you invest of your own money, 500,000 in the company, called a suprimento in Portuguese. I think it's kind of a supply or something in English.
Yeah.
You basically lend the company 500,000.
Yes.
So,
an investment thereof of the sort of amount that the government are looking for.
Yes. Now the company also kind of needs to have 5 employees. So a small company is a bit challenging to get 5 employees. But let's say there was this restaurant that you could buy for 100,000. And have 5 employees, okay? You can then lend 500,000 to that company, and that would be an investment in a Portuguese business. A year later, you are allowed to get that money back with no taxes or interest.
Very interesting. And you could take the D2 route as well, of course, that Bobby O'Reilly's told us about with starting a company in Portugal.
That could work too.
Based on one of the companies you're talking about, right?
Because one thing I noticed as well is that everybody talks about starting a new company, which has its merits, but the reality is there's so much involved in starting a company, so many fees and costs and all of these things, and then you need to brand, and then you need to get your word known. Like, we've met for a while, that we kind of struggled a little bit in the beginning, especially, right? Although it was definitely helpful that I had great people such as yourself backing me up and supporting me and, helping us move forward. But if you buy a company instead, then you already have something that's already working.
Yes, that counts. That's valuable in its own right, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I can help you look at the financials, because now I know how to read those 60-something pages of financials that companies have.
Yes.
And we also do actual standard, international standard evaluations. Like, there are several metrics that you can evaluate the company. And again, like, if I call a listing online, like from a real estate agent or something, like, hey, how did you get to that value? Oh, I don't know. It was their accountant, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So there are a few different things to take into account. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about this.
And so you should be. I think it's wonderful, and it's a true investment in the country, isn't it? It's a great way to come and get involved in the beauty of Portugal at that level, on the front line of business and enterprise. That's a true investment, I think, in the country and its economy, which can grow, of course, and help the country grow as well, and the culture grow, and be part of the culture. If you buy an existing company, you are buying into the culture, aren't you? Now, why? You I think you're making a point that it's not standard practice, or it's not done terribly well so far in Portugal. Why would that be?
That is a good question, but I know for a fact that there's barely anyone that does this for companies between 100,000 and 10 million in yearly sales. There are people who know how this is done properly, but usually they only care about companies that gross 50 million or more yearly.
Right. Okay. They might be from the big consultancy companies, right? Who would deal with
exactly. They call them the big five.
Yes. Yeah. But below that, and something a little bit more interesting, perhaps a long-standing business in Portugal that wants to grow.
Micro, small, and medium businesses. They make up for about 1.2 million in Portugal.
Of course.
About 12% of the Portuguese population are small businesses.
Yeah, the SMEs, I think they're known as, aren't they, in other cultures as well? And how do you think the government view this, the political classes? Because you might imagine, mightn't you, that in a country that is keen to attract investment, that the governments and the cameras around the country might make it easy for people and show them what's available. Is that the case?
Oh, what do you mean? Like showcase?
Like a department of enterprise, a government department that says, yeah, we definitely want people to come over and invest money. Here's how you do it. Here are some opportunities. It sounds like that's not very hot.
I'm not certain that would be the case, because here's another thing, right? People don't even think companies are bought and sold every day. And from my experiences, if the agent does their job properly, the broker, you won't even know anything happened.
Right? Okay.
It's like imagine two ships exchanging goods in the middle of the night in the middle of the ocean.
Yes.
That's kind of like how I see businesses, because you have online, agents or owners or whatever putting their restaurants or whatever for sale or trespass or conveyance, and they stay there forever, because that's not really how you sell a business. Maybe 1 in 100 actually sells that way. But doing things properly, you don't even know a company is for sale, because if you're not a party that could be involved in that deal, then you won't even know about it.
And that's good, isn't it? Because you don't want employees becoming startled.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want suppliers becoming upset by
Exactly. So let's say a restaurant is for sale, and then you go there, right? You sit down for lunch, and the waitress comes over and she gives you the menu, and you're like, oh, thank you. By the way, why does your boss want to sell a restaurant?
It's such a great place. Is your job safe?
The restaurant? Maybe I should start sending resumes to other places. Maybe I'm
Yes.
going to get fired.
Yeah.
And
yes.
then all of this inner turmoil starts happening, and the boss is completely oblivious that
And
this is happening.
suffice to say then, Vitor, that there are opportunities. There aren't necessarily lists and websites with such opportunities, and you might
Not
find
that you know of.
okay, but then there might be a random mini presso listing on a real estate site that tells you. I mean, that's not the way to do it, is it? By the sound of it. So maybe start with you. And I know as well. Do you know Cordelia Blake? Have you met Cordelia, who's down in Caldas-Charreña?
I don't believe I have.
Well, I think it'd be good for you to meet them. They value companies. They that's what they've been doing in the US, and they're over here and they're helping people value companies as well. So it might be a useful contact for you. And I mentioned Cordelia because I saw her on Facebook. Somebody asking about work. This is not buying a company, but this is working in Portugal. And I had no idea that there are now listing sites, agencies, if you like, for helping people find remote work, and one of them is hiremymom.com, which sounds interesting, doesn't it? I don't know if that's the best name, but anyway, there is a company called hiremymom.com that Cordelia says has good remote jobs, and Rat Race Rebellion. So this whole the whole digital nomad thing, for which Portugal is so apt and helpful and great place to come to be a remote worker. That's a Rat Race Rebellion, I think, has some listings that might work for you here in Portugal as well, if that's your thing. I think we need to get Cordelia on and do a bit more of a special about this, the opportunities for working in Portugal as well. And if you want to find a business, Vitor is your man. Okay, excellent. Are you sending me that to share, or is that just for my own?
If you want to take a look, that's the business brokers that I'm now in a partnership with.
Oh, so this is a listing. Okay. All right.
Yes, that is an example of how a good listing is done.
I'm allowed to share this in the public domain, am I?
Sure. Yeah, that's public.
Okay. Well, I would definitely want to buy the platter I see before me, if not the restaurant. So here we are. We're looking at.
We can arrange that. Yeah.
Okay.
So on the right.
Okay. Yeah.
But you can tell what the restaurant it is, right? You have the price there. There you have extra information, and you can see there on the bottom, there's a very important thing which says reason for sale, lack of succession. Because that's a really big problem we're starting to have, because the baby boomers especially, and this is even in the US, right? They have all of the businesses, but now either because of health issues or because they want to retire or something like that, they want to leave the company, but they don't know what to do with it.
Foreigners, we hear this a lot, Vitor, and we can't understand it. It's like you go to a great restaurant or a shop, and the people there will tell you, our kids don't want this. They don't want this life.
Exactly. They have their own lives, especially because usually parents would work really hard to send kids to college and whatever to have a quote-unquote better life, and now they're in the better life.
Yeah, they don't want the old life.
Yeah, they're not going to abandon their place just to keep the dad's business. Maybe they don't even care about it. They're not familiar with it, right? And so that describes a bunch of relevant information.
Yes.
On the bottom, you also have there some of the financial details.
Investment. Yes.
Sales, cash flow.
Yeah. And
financial autonomy.
Any seasoned investor, these are the numbers they're looking for, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yes. And that's what you need to see whether or not you're gonna be interested in something like this. Because let's say if you go online, or maybe you can even look business for sale on Google or whatever. We don't have a lot of time, but if you do, you'll see we're asking 500,000 and this and that and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If you were a buyer, reading that would tell you nothing. If you wanted to buy it, you'd have to call, okay, what's this number? What's this number? What's this detail?
Yes.
What's this detail? And only then could you figure out whether or not that would even matter to you.
Wonderful. Okay, well, great. Thank you for bringing us up to date on that. There is a professional approach to investing in companies in Portugal, which is bizlinkbrokers.com, and you can get Vitor to give you a bit of help with that. That is fantastic. Thank you, Vitor. Stay with me because we've got a little bit of fitness to deal with now, and we've got the God Squad tip of the day. Coach Turn had a great weekend, probably was walking up and down at a racetrack, so he's got a bit of exercise and a few steps in. God Squad tip of the day visiting Portugal week. This is the training for when you're coming to Portugal and you want to get in shape so you can do lots of walking and take care on the Calçadas, the Calçadas downhill event. If you're anything like Mrs. T and I, we always walk a great deal when on holiday, and it can come as a bit of a surprise to the body. So it's worth doing a little preparation prior to the trip. We average around 6,000 steps a day when we're at home, though we both train on a couple of days as well. That's sufficient, says the coach.
6,000 at home.
I think at home, not in the house, at home in England.
Okay.
Okay, right. It's not a massive house.
Wow.
Oh, I left my glasses in another part of the house. That's another 2,000. No, they don't live in a castle. Well, that's one way of doing it, isn't it? That's sufficient for maintenance, but not sufficient to prepare for doing over 20,000 each day, which is what often happens. Yeah, when they're on holiday, of course. So we tried to add some longer walks during the 2 weeks before our trip. Excellent pre-Portugal training week this week. Nice one, coach. It means that we're not completely wiped out after our first day. Yeah, try building up a little more each day and you'll manage the transition with relative ease. Now, if anyone is preparing to come to Portugal and they're taking that tip seriously, would love to see a picture of you on your pre-Portugal trip training. Do send us a photo.
Rocky music, punching, hanging meats.
Ding, 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 ding. Yes! Planning for Portugal, training for Portugal, fantastic. We were talking about amaranth. Do you have anything to add about beautiful amaranths? I think you were there one early morning, you said.
Well, I don't know it too well, but one day there was this expat that we randomly met because we noticed he was speaking English on the table next to us, right?
Like you do.
And then he needed to buy a car. And so, yeah, sure, I'll help you out. And then one day, like, I was picking him up at like 5 a.m. to see a car.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why. I didn't even charge him for this.
Well, bless you.
And drove him all the way down to Amarante because he found a car stand there that had a SsangYong Jeep, which is apparently a Korean Jeep that uses Mercedes engines or whatever. Went in there. It was actually quite fun because he used to be a vehicle inspector. And so the first time I went with him to a private seller, right? And this was like 6 a.m. as well. Okay, let me take a look at the car. And then he puts on some gloves. Then he falls down on the floor and starts rolling around and looking underneath the car. And me and the seller are like, what's going on?
What's happening here?
Yeah, but then he liked the car. He bought it. So we went through the highway, right? And all of a sudden, I start going very slowly, and I don't see him in the rear view mirror. I go around, and then 15 minutes later, turn back around, go back to the village, go forward again. Turns out he, when they changed the oil in the car, they forgot to put on the lid. And so as he started driving and was nearing the toll booth, everything was filling up with smoke.
Oh, no.
But everything got fine in the end. But the oil all splashed to the roof of the car. But yeah, and then we drove to Ponte Lima. Like an hour 15, I think.
And he still wonders why you haven't sent him a bill, because those are in the days, right, when you would help everybody.
Especially, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Now we can't afford to do that as much.
No, fair enough. We have another Amaranth connection as well. Freya is over there and has written a book called Naturally Being. I think James would be interested in this. Freya Thika lives over in Amaranth and did a couple of workshops and things with Freya. Met up in when we were living in central Portugal, and was the first person to explain to me the beauty of Amaranth and why Freya ended up being there. And this book, Naturally Being, if you like your mind, body, spirit books, this is one for you. Be the indestructible wholeness you naturally are. You naturally are at $9.99 for Kindle and $16.60 for the paperback version there. So yeah, Freya on Amazon, and you're able to buy that book, made here in Amarante in Portugal by notable expat Freya Thika. Also, some other acknowledgements I'd like to make this morning, if I may, and to resolve a mystery, a very, very special mystery, actually. One of them here, we're staying up in the north, Villarreal. Have you been across this bridge? I didn't know this existed in Portugal. This looks amazing. The Trás-os-Montes suspension bridge.
Not sure I have.
Actually, it's not a suspension bridge street, or is it? Maybe it is, but it's. I mean, this looks incredible. It looks like something from China, doesn't it? This is the Trás-os-Montes bridge, And over on, I'd like to thank this morning Zé Mario, who has been posting up things every day, incredible stuff about Portugal on our newly renamed Facebook group, GMP TV, Portuguese News and Information. And he's amazing. I don't know Zé Mario, but I'd like to thank you, Zé, for just, sometimes when you have a group, you let people post without checking what they post. And that's exactly what I've done with Zé, because he's just posting up fantastic stuff about Portugal every day. So thank you, mate, for that.
Very
And
nice.
Zé Mario, you're one of the Portuguese we want at the Portugal Club. And I didn't get round to sorting this out. Have you ever seen these before, Vitor?
I have not. What the heck?
Well, you were drinking a coffee earlier on, weren't you? These are espresso cups in an Art Deco style. Yeah, there's yours in glass. These are Vista Alegre, made up near Aveiro, of course, Aveiro area. And these are a current design. People are saying, is that Clarice Cliff? Is it original Art Deco? This is what you can buy, made in Portugal, Portuguese porcelain, made by Vista Alegre. And they are so delightful, aren't they? Would you like to drink your coffee out of those, or would they make you a bit dizzy first thing in the morning?
I'd try it, but not. I'd have to see how geometrically stable they would be.
I think they've been made to be balanced and beautiful.
Oh yeah. I'm sure.
A pleasure on the eye and a delight to drink from. So thank you, my beautiful country, who's also a fabulous provider.
I'm just not sure if the cone shape would have too much coffee in it.
That's true. That's what you're concerned about, really, isn't it? It's volume rather than aesthetics there, I think. So thank you very much, my beautiful country. We hope to have you on the show one of these mornings as well. And from Owen, morning to you, Owen. This apparently is last night's waxing gibbous. Who doesn't like a waxing gibbous last thing at night? And the full moon is upon us at apparently 3 a.m. on this coming Wednesday morning at 3 a.m. where you can see a lunar eclipse, I think, as well. So that's something to look up into the night sky for as well. Thank you, Vitor. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. We're into our last few minutes. So the best way to reach out to you is still through portugaldoor.com, I suspect, for all of the services you mentioned before, Vitor.
Yes, or if you can go to my listings page also on EXP, and you can find some details in there. But if you go to portugaldoor.com, you have there all of my contact details. On the contact us page, you can also book a meeting directly on my calendar. And, the first one is always on me. I don't mind talking to people and see whether or not it makes sense for us to help them or not. And then depending on what the needs are, then we'll see what the next steps are. But yeah, we're here to help. We're here to contribute to making Portugal better and people's lives in the community. And that's why we do
way of seeing it. That's a lovely way of seeing it. Oh, and of course, your Portuguese tuition. Learn European Portuguese with your dear wife, Senhora Costa. How's that going?
Yes. So it's been a little bit on standby recently. We're just preparing to do something else going forward because, all of the parties and holidays and it all messed up with our schedules because everything was being very unreliable. But things are now getting back on track. The school year has already started. Civilization is once again going back into the tracks. So
that in its own right is a little insight into Portuguese culture, isn't it? And how things curveballs can be thrown. Learn more about Portuguese culture and the language. Learn the language in an intensive but not intense way and a fun way with Maria principally, and Vitor is on the videos as well. They're great. That's the link.
I can say one thing, sorry, before we end the show.
Yeah.
Because culture is often more important to learn than even the language.
Yes, right.
And you, for example, between here and China, there are many cultural things that if you do in one country or another that you do, that could be seen as offensive. But usually between the UK, US, and stuff like that, I couldn't find a lot of differences. But I can give you one example.
Go on.
One time we had some clients, we helped them find a rental, right? Things happened. They decided that they had to move back to the US. And so them being Americans, they did what would be natural in the US, which is talk to my lawyer to send a letter to the landlord. But in Portugal, that's akin to a declaration of war. So this is one cultural aspect that I can mention, that sometimes there are things we don't even realize, but that can make a difference.
Yes,
right? And that's another thing we do, right? So We help people with finding a rental or a home to buy or whatever. But we like to keep in touch because even the landlords prefer to talk to us to talk to our clients instead of talking directly.
So if you get something direct from a lawyer, that's like something terrible has happened. You talk to the person.
Usually,
first.
yes. Yes. Usually when lawyers get involved is when people want to stop negotiating here in Portugal.
Bear that in mind then. Bear that in mind. Be friendly. Talk to the person you're dealing with. You don't have to get all official about it from the get-go.
Yeah.
Very good. So just very quickly then on this is Learning with Maria. This is a group for people who want to learn European Portuguese. It's calendar based. So you get to learn, you get some serious Portuguese under your belt in 30 days. Calendars, community, comprehensible input approach, and very practical. So a bit of a boot camp really for learning European Portuguese if you're coming here.
And it costs less than Netflix.
Say that again, mate.
And it costs less than Netflix.
And you get something useful out of it as well, don't you? Excellent. Love to Maria, of course, and to you and all your family and extended family up there in the north of Portugal. Vitor, always great fun talking to you. We'll see you again next month, my friend. Take care and bye for now. We'll see everyone else tomorrow morning as well. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.